Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are receiving us. And welcome to one more edition of the Bridge Writers. The Bridge Writers is an ISIC free activity that we generally transmit every 2 months, and during which we interview or we host conscientiology published writers, and which actually present to us a masterclass on conscientiology and the process of writing, because the idea, the objective is to motivate people to write conscientiology in different languages, their own languages, and also in English, right? So that we can exactly spread the information about conscientiology, all over the planet, wherever there is an intermissivist that may be interested in the themes, in the topics we discuss. So let me introduce our author today, Caio Polizel. Hello, Caio.
Hello, Liliana.
Very good.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Yes, so Caio is an entrepreneur and educational consultant. He graduated in business administration. He has a post in HR management, so human resources, and organizational psychology. And he has a master's in business administration as well. He's a conscientiology volunteer since 2000 and an instructor and Penta practitioner since 2004. He is also a proexologist and APEX, so that's the conscientiocentric institution he volunteers at. He's an APEX volunteer since 2009. He's a verbophotographer. He's a book author. His book is in the finishing line to be published, hopefully next year in English, right? And he's also an epicomp, right? So, Caio, it's a pleasure for us to have you here. It's all yours. Go.
Thanks, Liliana. It's a big pleasure to be here at the Bridge Writers. And thanks to ISIC and UNESCO too. And thanks to you who came here to discuss this topic. It's an important part of my life that I'm gonna tell my experience, my casuistry, and this is an opportunity to change ideas. And of course, it's my casuistry, so you have to be open to understand if what I am telling you makes sense in your context and everything. So today I'm gonna talk about the self-management applied to life and writing. I'm gonna try to do a connection between life and writing, because it's impossible to disconnect these ideas. So here to attend this contest of the Bridge Writers, I'm gonna talk a little about life, the connection between my book, a book that I wrote, and this life contest too. So I think today we could think and go deep and, how can I say, delve into this contest to understand if your idea, if you could write a little more, even if we are talking about a book or entry, verbate, or an article. Pay attention to the energy, pay attention to the things that I'm gonna talk here, because if you look to this on a correct way, I think it will help you to do this connection in your life too. So today we are gonna talk about these contests, of course, related to self-management applied to life and writing. And the first part, we are going to talk about the self-management, existential self-management, the guidelines and the definition about this, because I'm going to relate with the book that I wrote, and I'm going to explain a little more. And the second part, we are talk and go deep into the areas of life. It's an important part of the book, and of course, it's an important part of our life. We divide our life in parts, and I'm gonna explain a little more, and to facilitate your comprehension, of course, my comprehension too, to get a little, how can I say, get a little information specifically of each area, but we are going to talk later. We are going to talk about life and writing, assessment and project. We divided this in two parts, the assessment of life and writing and the project of life and of course writing, because the bridge writers, it's really important part. We are going to talk about the existential program intersection. This is an important element about the science that studies the proaxis. If you understand the areas of life, if you understand the assessment, the diagnosis about life and writing, and we understand this intersection about this, it will be easy to understand your life, your proaxis, and what you could do in your life to be better with your comprehension, with your full connection between your life, your tasks, your skills, and other things. But let's talk at the end of this presentation. We are going to talk about my experience with writing and a conclusion to connect all of this. So always when we talk here in the bridge writers, or every contest here in conscientiology, we need to talk about the principle of disbelief. And we always say that don't believe in anything, not even in what is said in this presentation, what I'm gonna talk here. Experiment, have your own personal experience. Of course, I'm not going to say any untruth, or of course, I'm not tell lies here, but it's just my example, and therefore a theory for you that you are listening me. So after
everything is a theory if we don't put it to practice, right?
Yes.
If we don't experiment with things and, to know if they are true, if they are reality for us or not.
Yes.
It's not just about reading and thinking, yes, I know this, because there is a huge difference, because knowing something intellectually and knowing something by experience, right?
Yes, in
Very
practice,
important.
you needed to understand that it's that my explanation and look for this and try to test if what I'm telling you makes sense or no. So this principle of disbelief, it's really important. Well, let's start the conversation here about the meaning of the presentation. And we are gonna beginning by the guidelines and definition and give the base of this contest. When I say that I'm gonna give this base, I will start contextualizing about my book, and this part is important to give the base. So let's talk about this part. This is the book, and that, as Liliana said, is in the final translation process, thanks to the ISIC and everyone that participated this. And this book was organized by me in co-authorship with 8 other authors, and I also wrote some chapters here. And we presented the knowledge and experiences of balance in different areas of life. This is important, how to balance our life and how to balance these specific areas of life, and envisaging to help the readers optimize their self-knowledge about profession, finances, physical, emotional, mental, and energetic health, interpersonal relationships. This is really important. extraphysical perceptions, and interassistence. So this is the big context of this book, and we divided my life into 8 parts, of course didactically, and to what? To our intention is to facilitate the understanding of those interested in improving self-management and balance this. So you need to pay attention in these areas, because it's really interesting to reflect in parts, reflect in each area that you always live a life, and normally we get connected all of them, and don't stop to diagnose a specific area. So this is the meaning of the book, and this the vision that we did there. So we need to understand this. What is this? The existential self-management. So the definition of this is the coordination of personal resources. So we need to understand this, the coordination of personal resources, and which resources we are talking about talents, about interests, about mental attributes, the paraperceptions, the bioenergies, the motivation, the time, the effort, the money, the intra and extraphysical companies, among others. So we need to understand we have many resources. We have lots of resources. And we need to understand about our talents. We need to understand about our interests. And there is some tools that facilitate this. So we introduce and we put this into the book to facilitate this reflection about the coordination of personal resources. And when we think about this,
Can I just say something?
Yes, of course.
Yeah, I think that generally speaking, on a daily basis, when we think about resources, we only think, oh, that is time and money.
Yes,
and we forget to go deeper and analyze all these aspects of our life. All of them are resources, as you put here very well, right?
Yes, thanks for your comment, because we never stop and reflect about normally. We never stop normally to reflect about the mental attributes. We never stop and think about, go deep about the intra and extraphysical companies. And these impact our life, our praxis, and we need to understand a little more about these resources. So why? We need to understand these resources considering situational circumstances, that we have normally opportunities and risks throughout life, aiming at the fulfillment of one's praxis. So we need to coordinate these personal resources and others that we have, of course. We need to pay attention to the opportunities and the risks that we are involved to, and aiming at the fulfillment of one's praxis. So think if it makes sense. Think if you, during your life, you reflect about this resource. So let's talk about these areas that we are talking about. These areas, when we always talk about this, we are talking about a situation, not a situation, but a way that we use to facilitate and to understand a little more about specific areas. So we divide, we use like a pie chart, and we show these 8 vital areas that we call like areas of life or vital areas is the same. It's a synonym. And that we need to understand and prioritize and work for a balance. We work for do everything and take advantage of everything, but we need to understand these parts. Of course, aiming to better use their human existence and achieve existential completeness. This is important. This final part of this phrase is because we intend to achieve the existential completism. So we did this pie chart to facilitate this. But let's talk about these 8 areas. What happened here? Now, okay. We are going to talk about the intraconscientiology. We are going to talk about the holosomatic health, the profession, the interconscientiology, the relation between person, pets, and everything. We are going to talk about the finances. We are going to talk about the extraphysicology and the interassistenciology and other items that we are going to talk later. So let's go and understand each area to connect our life, and after that we connect our writing project. Okay? Can I continue? Or everything okay until now?
Any questions? Feel free, right?
Yes, please,
Okay.
please. But I'm
Yes.
gonna continue, and if we have some question, please, Liliana,
Okay.
let me know.
Okay.
So the first area we related to intraconscientiology, and this area, it's an area that comprises the several aspects of the conscientiousness, the qualities, the strong traits, the weaknesses, the weak traits, and the temperament. So we need to understand a little more about our ego, about our intraconscientiology. And it will facilitate our interactions. And of course, it will facilitate the way we see things. And this is an important part that we never stop to reflect, or not never, but it's not so common to stop and reflect about this specific area, this specific slice of a pie. Okay, so this is the first one. The second one is related to the holosomatic health, and this area comprises the aspects of health, observing the physical, the energetic, the emotional, and mental vehicles of manifestations of the consciousness. So you need to stop and reflect. Of course, who are here and reflected and studied a little about the conscientiology, started to reflect about the intraconscientiology and did the list about the strong traits and weak traits. But during our life, we need to stop and reflect about this every month, every year, not only when we did the first course here in conscientiology. We need to understand if this is evolving, if these contexts are improving during our life. And the second one, the holosomatic health, we need to perceive our emotional and mental vehicles. We normally perceive our energetic and our body, but when we talk about the emotional, it's not so normally to stop and reflect about this. And this impacts our life and our practice too much. So this is the second one. The third one area, we are going to talk about a profession, and this is related to the conscientiousness management of activities related to your profession and career. And we need to stop here and connect our life, and the profession is an important part of our life. We spend many time to how can I say, to increase and to develop our career. We spend many
And
time
it's like we
studying.
spend 1/3 when you are in the working force, so to speak. We spend 1/3 of our lives working
Yes,
at
it's
very
a
least,
big
right?
part.
If it's eight hours per day, is 1/3 of your life working. So this is an
Yes,
important thing.
you can imagine we spend a third of our life. So it's an important part that we needed to get advantage on this. And we know that a profession is not a praxis. Profession, it's a part, an important part that give the money to fulfill the praxis, but it's not a praxis. But when we take advantage and reflect about this, we can, as we call here in Apex, we can, how can I say here, we can take advantage, as I said before, because we study to the profession and we take advantages during the volunteering. When we study to the volunteering to write a verbete, this gives us some information to the profession. So
can we say that the profession is a bit like a tool, right? Is one of the tools that we have to actually understand also part of the praxis, because your profession is going to allow you to develop or promote or use certain strong traits to better certain weak traits, to work on those. It's like the opportunity is a tool in that sense. It's an opportunity for you to develop other things. It's not so much sometimes about the profession, it's about what it is behind that.
yes, Liliana, we can say like that, but it's not, we can say that it's for all of them, because sometimes I have a profession only to waste money, waste? Yes, I think so. Only to waste money and to do our praxis. Let me give you an example. We can work as a cashier, and this is not our praxis or important part of our praxis to work as a cashier many lots of years in your life. But if it gives you money to fulfill an important part of praxis, it could be no problem for a specific person. But when we connect the profession to our praxis and take advantage of this, it could increase the speed, the velocity of your completism. I don't know if you
Yes. I
if
think
it's
it's very
okay.
important. But it's like, for instance, if you are a cashier, actually you are dealing with the public.
Yes,
And this will
yes,
help you develop your communication,
yes.
if you think of
Okay,
it, right?
it's a good
Yeah, as
relation.
well. Yeah.
Okay, and the fourth part in the fourth area, it's a
Regina has a question.
okay. Please do that. Let's
Well,
see if
maybe not a question, maybe a comment. I think that sometimes a profession is also connected to the groupality, right? So that you work with people that you might know from your past, and that for some reasons you have to work with them. And I think in that case, it's also connected to the praxis in a sense. Don't you think so?
it could be, but it's not to everyone.
Yeah, sure. Not
Okay,
necessarily. Not,
it's
yeah.
not necessary.
Mhm.
Yes, but when we take advantage of your praxis, of your profession to do the praxis, it's interesting. It's a smart solution, because you, as I said before, you are studying for this contest, and it give you information to the other contest, the profession and the volunteering, like I said before. But it's not only this situation that happened, and there is someone that work with a specific profession that give only, in quotes, only the money to do something. And this is not so important, not a so important profession, but it gives the money to do other things. So this is a solution too, okay? Let's talk about the fourth area, about the interconscientiology. It's a really important area. And this relates to a specific and important part of life, which the conscientiousness manages their interpersonal relationship about your family, about friends, colleagues, pets. So we need to reflect how we are interacting with our family. If many people close to you and say that you are very nervous, this information is very important, because after that, we'll have at the hand, in quotes again, a manual of where to start your recycling. Someone are talking to you, oh, you are really nervous, you are really, we are too much worried about the things. This is important information. So we need to use this and take advantage of this to be better. And this impact in the first area that we said before, related to here, interconscientiology. If we pay attention to this information that we can receive here during our interaction, during our interpersonal relationships, we take advantage to solve the other area. So they are interconnected. But let's continue. This is the fourth part. The fifth part gives us a simple information. It's about the finances. It's a simple information, but it's not so easy. It's not so simple to solve this problem, because the finance is the part, this important area that, and we can say it's responsible to reflect about their financial reserves, the income, the expenses, the investments, and the financial reserve. So it impacts your whole life. If you don't have money to pay the basic bills, it will be a difficulty to you. It will be a situation that, how can I say here, that impacting your whole life, and of course in your pro-access. Because if you have resources and expenses and investments to do many things, to travel and to visit other country and to know many people, so this is important to you to get connected with this important part, the finances, and take advantage of this for the other areas that we talked before. The other one is the astrophysiology. So we relate to the parapsychic phenomena, the multidimensional interaction, the paraperceptions, the chakras, and the insights. So we need to be open to perceive the parapsychic. We are talking about the multidimensionality. We are talking about other lives. We are talking about the past lives. So we need to develop this important part of our life, this important area. And we needed to stop and reflect about this. We needed to read about some techniques that we can improve our out-of-body experience. So it's an important part to be developed, as I said. And the last two, the first one relates to the interassistentiology, and and provide, and the existence provided to third parties, the availability of existence in the volunteering and Penta, the Penta technique. So we need to reflect how we deal about this area, how we promote, how we provide to a third parties this assistance. And the last one, we are talking about the other items. We are talking about the specifically when we are retired, we don't need to pay attention to the profession area, and we need to understand how to deal with your retirement and take advantage of this and do a schedule, because you have many time to do many things, and sometimes we lose our proaxis because we have many time.
We have so much more time.
So much more time, and we don't know how
that
to deal with
sometimes
this.
you can get lost.
Yes, we get lost. It's normal. It's frequently that happen. So this is the areas of life, and let's connect all of this to the main purpose of this presentation. So we need to save. Until now, we need to save all this information, which we will use some to reflect about this part, life and writing assessment. So save this that I said until now and pay attention on that information, that after that we connect all of them. This is a good question. How do we perform a life and writing assessment? How do we perform this? We need to understand some information that we are going to talk here. We need to answer at least 3 questions to reflect this about this assessment. So this is the first one. How do we evaluate our own life and writing projects? This is the first question. And the second one that gives us a little more information, what instruments and resources are available. And the third one, what are the variables, elements, and markers that I should take into account to carry out my own assessment? Reflect about the variables, the elements, and markers that I should take. So this is the first part, the first important part of this explanation, because we are trying to perform this assessment to a life and writing, because this is the first part, and we need to do and to understand this, because in practice we need to start for where? How could we start this? And we always say that the first step that we can do, the first step to start a plan in the future, we need to reach a diagnosis through an evaluation of our reality of life and writing so far. What we did until now about life and writing. Okay, Caio, but it's a big information, because I need to understand and to do a diagnosis about my life and about the writing so far. Okay, it's not so big. Sometimes it's big, but it's not so common to have a big writing process. But life, it's big. So we need to perform a life and writing assessment. So let's talk about this, because we need to achieve something. We achieve something, and we need to understand this before, and why we achieve this, why these whole areas impact in this evaluation, what we did in each area, and what this impact in our achievements. So we need to understand this, and we are going to use some ideas to perform a life and writing assessment, because this is the first part of the diagnosis. The first affirmative information is we need to delve into your personal story. We need to go deep in our personal story. We need to do what? It's important to list your personality traits and the ego, the group, and polykarmic needs. So the first part we said before, we need to stop, to sit, to get a paper and a pen and list your traits. And after that, we need to reflect about our ego, group, and polykarmic needs. What is this specifically? Let's reflect. The evolutionary needs are the absence or lack of something that needs to be met, which allows for the evolution of the consciousness. So we need to understand about our ego, our ego-karmic needs. What we need to be better. We need to understand about our group of karmic needs, what they need, what our family, our first context, our mother, our father, our sister, brother, what they need, and what I have to solve some problem that they need, or some evolutionary needs. And about the polykarmic needs, we need to reflect about the life, about the planet, about the universe. We need to understand a little more about the evolutionary needs in these three specific parts: ego, group, and polykarmic. And when we do this, when we do this reflection, this diagnosis, it gives you a little more information to do this list. So we are increasing our
awareness, right?
Awareness,
increases
yes,
our awareness about
our
ourselves.
awareness, yes. Thank you, Liliana. So when we do this, and when we started to identify the personal obstacles that hinder the execution of your projects, what happened? What obstacles? Which trait that you have that it's an obstacle that hinder the execution, that execution of your projects? You need to reflect about this. This is a diagnosis. So we need to immerse yourself in your personal interests. If you look to your bookshelf, if you look to the bookshelf and pay attention in the personal interests, the books, the how can I say, the most part of your book are related which specifically which interests. You need to reflect about this, because your bookshelf show you some personal interests, and we need to stop and look for that. After this presentation, please stop, go there, look to your bookshelf and pay attention on this, because this gives you an information about your interests. So we are doing our assessment, and we need to make a list of topics of interest. And when we reflect about your past, your traits, your context, the obstacles, the personal interests, and when we do a list of interests about the past, the context, the whole context in your life, we are doing this. You are looking for an important part of the information related to your proaxis. And we have another one too that gives you this complete diagnosis that we call, it's an acronym that we
It's a tiny, I really like your acronym. It's a tiny.
Now we are on a tiny to reflect
now
about
we
this.
are on a tiny. Yeah.
This tiny it involves a contraction of 5 words. It's another tool. And we are talking about the talents, the first one, the T, the talents, the strong traits, the abilities. We are talking about the inputs, the existential inputs, something that we receive during our life, and that something
from family, from
from family,
parents,
from a
school,
book,
from
travel, something that you
books,
receive,
travels.
you won't pay, you receive this, and this impacts your your existential life. Okay? And the third one, the motivation. We are talking about the interests. This is really important to reflect. Other one, we are talking about the innate ideas. We are talking here about those ideas that we talked about in childhood.
More connected with our proexes, probably,
Yes.
with our past lives, with our, who we are as a consciousness, right?
Yes, sometimes this is related to
Intermissive
our
period.
Yes, with our intermissive period. Yes, it's completely related with this. And this gives us an information that this is our interest, related to our bookshelf, related to something that we said when we were young. And we can ask to our mother, our father, what I always say during my when we were a child, and we always say that in the future I wanted to act on it or do something in particular. Okay, this is an example. And the last one, we are talking about the evolutionary priorities. As an example that we can talk here, we have people with a great talent in music, but is it, in quotes, of course, always, just playing is the priority? Just to play piano or something, just playing, it is a priority. We needed to think about this. Or whoever who has this ability could think and acting with, for example, music therapy. And so in this case, we connect talent with something very existential. This is an example. We need to use our talent.
We have a colleague of ours that is writing a book about the connection. He's a musician, professional musician. He's writing a book and how that combines with the talents, that the capacities that he has developed, and how that combines with conscientiology. I'm really interested in seeing the final product. I would love to read this book.
Yes, this is an interesting example, because we know how to play piano, but if we work as a music therapy and using our piano talent, we can help many person to.
And this guy is exactly a pianist.
Really?
He's a composer and yes.
I wanted to know about a little more about this. And when we are even when we are reflecting about this, when we are talking about the motivation, we need to think what makes you get up and down to do without this dissatisfaction. And even though you went to bed very late, what makes you get up and do something? You went to bed very late.
What makes you get up in the morning every day?
Yes, every day. And you go to the bed very late and you wake up in the morning too early to do something because it motivates you. This is important. The team, it's really important to give you the information. And why I am telling all of this, and why we are talking about this when we are talking about the bridge riders. Because when we understand this, and this is an important part of this, this information that we are talking about, this is this intersection, the existential program intersection. Now we are going to see the connection with many things that we said before. Look to this. When we pay attention, when we complete all these diagnoses that I just proposed until now, using all the questions we asked before and the TME, as I said before, we will have the better understanding of our personal characteristics. And as I normally say, I can say, now when we talk about our personal characteristics, we understand our toolbox. What's inside? What's inside? We understand this part of the intersection, our consciential characteristics. And on the other side, on this intersection, we have the evolutionary needs. And the evolutionary needs relate to the ego, the group, and polykarma. We are talking here about all the things that bother me, that I really like to act on. And we need to understand that when we understand a little more about the evolutionary needs, something that bothers me, something that that I really like to act, and when we understand about our consciential characteristics, when we complete this intersection, we understand a little more about our existential program. So the content of our existential program will be a little more clarified. We will understand because we don't have these consciential characteristics to do nothing. And we not came on a specific family and to solve some specific polykarmic problem, some evolutionary polykarmic needs to do nothing. So we use the consciential characteristics to solve some evolutionary needs, and we get connected this. This is the existential program intersection. And in this time, when we connect all of this that we studied, that we said before, using all the questions, we will understand our consciential characteristics and the evolutionary needs.
In management, I think sometimes you refer to this, okay, your consciential characteristics is like your toolbox, right? Which you have already mentioned.
Yes.
And
yes.
And these evolutionary needs of ego, your group karma, and even polykarmic needs is like the pains, you know, the problems that you need to solve.
Yes,
and it's
you
from
use
the
your toolbox.
intersection of, yeah.
Yes, you use your toolbox to solve these problems, this absence that we find during our life.
Mhm.
This is the existential program content. But pay attention, remember about the principle of this belief, but do this, reflect about this. And when we understand this, we close the diagnosis, we complete the diagnosis. And after that, we can talk a little more about the life and writing project. Because to designing a life and writing project, we can answer two questions. How do I design a life and writing project? And which are the variables, the elements, and the markers I should consider in my design of life and writing project? Remember the question that I did before during the diagnosis? We talked about the variables. We talked about the elements, the markers. So when When we did our diagnose, it facilitated to understand and to design a life and writing project. So when we arrive until now and understand this, we will start, and it's possible to do the second, to achieve the second step. And the second step consists of making a personal plan or designing your life and writing project. So to do a writing project, we need to do this diagnosis, because don't make sense to write something disconnected to our life. Doesn't make sense. We need to understand about our life to write something with theatica, with a big connection between the theory and the practice. And the theories and the practice. We can say theatica here.
Theories.
Okay.
Which is the theory and the practice. Theories.
Okay, thank you, Liliana.
Yeah.
So here in Brazil, we say theatica. And we need to understand this to fulfill. Now we need to fulfill this. It will be easy to fulfill our proaxis. So when we start the second step, we plan the future. We are gonna planning our future, because we did a diagnose. We use the TINI. We use the whole information. We use the intersection plan. We need to understand this to do this part. So how could we design a life and writing project? It's possible to use this list. So we need to build your timeline, not about the past, but about how you intend to achieve it in the future. We need to reflect, what will my future be like? How do I see the evolution of my writing? I want to write a book next year. I want to write 3 or 4 verbetes, and Liliana asked something about this before. She's writing 3, or she has 3 important information about this. So
a list. That's a list.
A list.
That's the list.
But interesting. We needed to reflect and to put a goal to achieve. We needed to what we intend to do next year until the end
That's
of the year.
Thing. We need the challenge. We need to put goals. We need to think of give us a timing, right?
Yes. So if we build a timeline to the future, we put something there, what we intended to do in 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, and it starts to be easy to your helpers help you to achieve that, because if they don't know what you want, they can't help you. But if you write something, if you design your writing project, your life project, the helpers could help you. But don't believe in me. Do this. Try to do
that's
this.
The thing. You always, when we commonly say you have to give the first step, that's what we mean. Your first step, because the helpers kind of not, while you're just thinking and it's not clear and it's not, and you have not yet defined what it is that you want, there is no way they are going to interfere or to help you with something that you have yourself not yet defined. This is what I want to do.
Yes.
When you get to that moment, then okay, if that's what you want to do, you can have
sure, Liliana.
help.
They stop and wait our decision. When we
wait
decide
for us to decide what it is that we want to do.
Yes, when we decide, they can help us to achieve that. But we need to decide before. What else to design our life and writing project? We need to define your evolutionary and writing goals, to be specific. We need to plan in your future actions. Which action I'm gonna do in these 2 months until the end of the year? We need to plan our future actions. And is there any guarantee that our plan will happen? If we write, is there any guarantee? No. There is no guarantee of a correspondence between the theory, the planning, and the practice, the execution. But
that is normal. That's the thing, right? I used to think, okay, when I plan, things don't happen. But it's like, okay, you need a plan, because without a plan, nothing is going to happen either. And if it's not going to happen the way you think it's going to happen, it's going to be different.
Sure. But you put the goal, what you want to achieve. When we put this, what happened during the process, there is no guarantee. But it's easy to the helpers help us. It's easy to you to do the actions to try to achieve that. But when we do this, and when we follow up, when we monitor the activities and the results, to assess the conformity between what you are obtaining and what you expected. When we do this, when we follow this, and we monitor, it gives you a little more chance to be excitated, to solve,
to have
complete,
success, you mean?
To have success, yes.
To
Thank
have
you.
Success, yeah.
And the other things, when we monitor, it's easy to adjust, to do
the plan.
to apply corrective actions and to prevent and to minimize the problem. So we have so many tools to do this, to use and to achieve a plan, to understand our diagnose and to correct our plan to achieve. But it's not so easy. We need to practice. We need to do this. And let's talk about the conclusion and connect all of this to the writing project. Let's talk about my experience in writing. The first part of my experience in writing. This interest, the subject of management has always been of interest in my situation, my life, since childhood and adolescence. It's common, as I said, when I was talking and reflecting about this explanation. I'm going to give you an example. In my youth, when I went clubbing, time passed and I wasn't comfortable just thinking, look for this, just thinking what I would have to sleep late the next day and would miss part of the day. It gives me, how can I say, I don't feel really well with this. So since childhood and adolescence, the management, the time management started to do something that happened in my life, and I pay attention. I do something different from the other guys because I worried about this. So this started in my life. And a few years ago, of course, many years ago, when I arrived at Aracê, it's CI, Aracê, I don't know if...
it's in another city, it's not here in Foz do Iguaçu, so it's in Espírito Santo, is it?
Yes, in Espírito Santo. I lived in that time, I lived in São Paulo, and I moved to Espírito Santo at Aracê to volunteer and to build the campus of conscientiology.
Campus. And the first serenarium, right?
And the
first serenarium of the planet.
Of the planet, yes.
Can you please explain a little bit what is this serenarium lab so
yes.
that people have a better idea?
Okay, it's an important laboratory that Valdo showed to the volunteers that worked.
He came with the idea, right?
And he gave them the ideas of this, and we spent 3 days there without any interaction with no one.
With the external world.
Right? Yes, we
days inside that ball.
That ball with only a bed, with only
a bed and a desk.
Few books, a desk, many paper to write something.
Paper, yeah.
Yes, and when
a little kitchen.
A little kitchen with a food,
a toilet,
3 days, and a toilet. Yes. And this is an important laboratory that we have here in conscientiology. We have 3 or 4 like that now. 1 here in Foz do Iguaçu and 3 there in Aracê. Yes, we have 4. And I did this experiment during these 3 days. And when we started this laboratory, we don't have the first experiment that I did. We don't have even no one book of conscientiology, or no one. We don't have book there inside, and we spend 3 days writing and reflecting about our life. And in this time was the first connection point in terms of management and evolution. I did this reflection during my whole childhood and adolescence, during my whole youth, yes. And when I did the Serenarium, I started by volunteering in IPC, and I did some reflections between management and my life. But there in Serenarium was the first time that I connected the information about the management and evolution. How we say here, I don't know, Liliana, a ficha caiu. How can I pronunciate this expression here?
It has dawned on you, the important bits.
Yes,
it dawned on you, right?
Yes, I did the download of the information about this connection. So a few years ago, when I arrived at Apex, another CI that I volunteer until now, and I did the existential balance.
So that's the CI that is responsible, that is for exactly for Proaxis, right?
Yes, the
one where you are today.
The Proaxology, the science of Proaxis. And I did this existential assessment. This is a specific course that we have here in Apex, and it will happen in Europe next year, in Alemania, after I can give you some information about this. And when I did this clarified the relation between my Proaxis and evolution and the existential self-management. I connect, when I started the Serenarium, I connected the management and the evolution. Now, when I did when I start the reflection during the existential assessment course, I did the connection between my Proaxis and this whole contest. And a few years ago, I started, look, I am doing a diagnose. For that, I said before, these whole things. I stop and reflect about all of the things before I started the book. So
can we just add a little bit, just to be clear, when we talk about Proaxis, for any newcomers in the future that may come across this video, we are talking about our life program. It's like, we didn't come just for tourism. We come for a reason, and it is important. It's not written. The ProAxis, the life program doesn't come in an envelope, as Valdo used to say, right?
Okay, thank
And
you, Liliana.
we only discover what it is as we start doing it.
Yes.
Again, the importance of doing, not just thinking, it's not intellectual, is actually action, right? The theory comes with us from the intermissive, but the practice is here.
Nice, thank you. And when I said that the important part of this presentation are the first part, the diagnose, we are reflecting about our whole life. When we stop and understand what happened during our childhood and adolescence and use the tools that I did for you before, when we understand what happened in specific parts of our life, and I did here an example, the Serenarium experience, the Apex, the course, the existential assessment course, I'm gonna building information, a diagnose. And after that, I did another course here in Apex, we call ESM, the existential self-management course. And this expanded this connection between my ProAxis and my personal expertise. So this is important to understand about our personal expertise. And we relate this with our interests. Why we have this interest? Why we have this, as I said before, remember this, why I have these consciential characteristics, why I have these evolutionary needs, why I worry with this. When we reflect about this intersection, and when we reflect about these that I tell you, the existential self-management, and I reflect about my personal expertise, I connect other things. I understand why I started with this reflection, the management, why I connect the management and evolution, why I connect the ProAxis and evolution and the existential self-management, and why I connect the ProAxis and my personal expertise.
It's like you go step by step, things are not ready for you. And if you don't do this research inside yourself, and conscientiology is all about self-research, right?
Yes, and
you
it's
never find exactly the reasons why, what is your ProAxis? Am I doing it? Am I not doing it? So there are steps, there are tools, there are techniques, but yeah, need to do the work, right?
Yes, and when we write something related to our personal expertise, and when we do this diagnose, we have many information, lots of information to put in this book, in this verbiage, and this gives the readers a full information. This gives the readers an energy that they need to connect to this information and to clarify some information. So this is my experience, of course, in writing. But when I start to do this and to finish, when I start this, I connect to the proexology. And it was, though, the personal task of a specialty-based clarification that new evolutionary and proexological advances were observed, and I start the book idea. So I understand this. I connect with these whole events, and there were many of other events that I can say, that I could say here, but this is a resume that gives you information that connects the diagnose with
summary.
this. Okay.
Can I add something?
Okay, of course.
In this respect, as we go along this, it becomes eventually more clear, maybe to most of us, many of us, all of us, that we are all unique And if we reflect upon all these characteristics that are ours, if you go through all these steps, if you do this self-assessment, you will find out that we all probably have at least one book that we need to write and that only I can write.
Yes, because it's related to our experience. It's related to our
very
life.
specific programs, to our very specific proexis. And yes, we all have a little brick to add to the maxi proexis that we generally call, you know, the whole maxi proexis of the group. Each one of us has a function. Each one of us has a piece to play.
We have a target public to attend, to clarify. So when we understand about our personal expertise, we understand that I'm gonna come back again. We are gonna understand about our public, because when we understand about the evolutionary needs, we are talking about a specific public
this
here.
Target audience that depends on you intraphysically and extraphysically.
And extraphysically, yes, for sure. And when we understand this, we will perceive, we will find that we have consciential characteristics to solve this problem, to help this person, these people. And when we understand this, we are working on the existential program content. But don't believe, press.
Don't believe in anything.
Don't believe in anything.
Reflect, study, read.
Yes, yes. And to conclude,
Regina has a question.
Go ahead.
Yes, I would be, very interested in one topic, because you said you were the organizer, right? And so you were writing this in group, if I understand right. And I would be very curious to know about this process. You were talking about the
writing in group, right?
Yes, you were talking about the self-assessment and providing some steps and some things that you can think about before starting writing the book, planning the book, and so on. Maybe you can talk a little bit about that. Did you something like that in group as well, or how did you work that out?
When I did this course, the existential self-management course, I understand the whole areas of life. I remember that I think I needed to talk to the one that has the expertise about each area. So when they write this, they will put the better information to connect to the readers. And then I use my skill, my management, and this skill that I have to connect all the information.
Which is putting people together many times.
Yes, and not easy to do this, and to give to arrange a schedule and try to talk to one and another one. Most part of them did on the correct time. Another one did it many time ago, and I needed to deal with this, but my skill of manage, it's easy to understand and to deal with this. So this was my reflection, Regina, that I did. I needed to find someone that knows a lot about this, because when they write this, they put the theory, they practice, and when the reader are reading the book, they will connect the information. The target, the audience will be impacted, because the one that wrote this specific part are are specialized in that context. It's okay for you? Did I answer your question?
Yes, perfect. So that was a different approach. So you were not a group coming together and
No.
think about, okay, what can we write together? You had the initial idea, if I understand right, and you were calling the specialists to give the content,
Yes.
to put it all together. Yeah,
Yes.
that's interesting. And could you also share how much time did you use to put it from the first idea to having that in your hand and having it all together
Just to have an
printed?
idea, just to have an
Yes.
idea.
Yeah, because
No
I think that's
pressure.
an important thing. If you want to start planning, I think it could be very viable to have some ideas from other people that already have gone through the process. Even though this is not writing one person writing one book, I think this is another story. But I think this is interesting for others if they plan
Yeah.
something similar to have an
Of
idea.
course, each different type
Okay.
of book is going to be different also
Yes.
in
I-
timing and stuff.
I'm gonna ask your question using the last charter that I'm gonna explain that gives you this information, the whole information, and I'm gonna talk about the time until now. And I start telling that writing is not a bed of roses. So I answer a part of your question because it's not easy to do this.
You want to motivate people, Caio.
Yes. No, but it's not
Yes.
a bed of roses, but it gives us a motivation because all of the things that I said before, it motivates because you know that when we have pressure, we have something to help, we have people to help, we have a target to be attended, an audience to be attended.
And
So,
also, I think that when you start writing, it's kind of, there is a volitioning there. Valdo used to call it, right? It's like you don't want to stop, right? When you start, you've started. Now you want to.
Regina, but I have here 6 tips that helped me, and I guess that can help you and all of that are listen my explanation and to cross a little more easily by this writing process, because it's not so easy. It's not a bed of roses, but when we achieve a purpose, when we help others, when they read this, it gives us a motivation that we need to do this. So these 6 tips are related to the first one, purpose. Keep a reminder of the real purpose of your writing project, always visible in your working space. Write this, why you are writing this book, why you are writing this verbete, and many things. You need to use this on and to put this on a visible place, on a working place, on your refrigerator, on your think, because you need to look for this and change in time and time, change this from another place, because when we look and remember your purpose, it gives you a little more motivation to keep going during this whole challenge. Okay, the first tip. The second one, the writing process is not a continuous and direct movement devoid of some turbulence. We are gonna have some turbulence. We have a turbulence. So this process is not a continuous without any problem. We are gonna we are gonna have to deal with problems. So if you remember the real purpose, if you remember why you are doing this, the process, the turbulence gives you more information and more energy to complete this challenge, this goal, this project. The third one, look, the routine, set schedules and deadlines in order to access ideas from the extraphysical team. You need to set a schedule. We need to put every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday, I'm going to spend 2 hours doing this. And when we do a routine on this, the extraphysical team will be connected with you, because they know when we sit there in this specific time, these days, specific days and specific time, it's a time to do this, to get connected to this. So you minimize the turbulence doing this. This is the third tip. Another tip, a deadline. Set a clear deadline for the first version of your book, of your article, of your verbete. When you want to be ready with this writing project, you need to set this. You need to write with your purpose. You need to put this. My first version of this, I want to be in this time. So you put to the extraphysical a goal. We put this to achieve. This is the fourth tip. The fifth tip, reviewers. Reviewers can surprise both positively and negatively. So be prepared to receive this review. When I during my process, when I was writing, when I received the first revision, I stopped the project during 2 months. Deal with the review. Deal with the way as the review, a specific review, give me the information. I changed many ideas. I keep going with my project because I have the real purpose, but it impacts my reflection, the review, and give me more information to keep walking, because another, the other review give some information that motivate me to keep walking. But sometimes it will be positively and sometimes it will be negatively. So you need to reflect about the purpose, the turbulence, and the other things. And the last tip, focus. Stay focused and always align with your purpose. Your purpose needs to be in the first, it needs to be in your front desk.
I generally say it's to be kind of also in the back of your mind, but you are even telling us, write it down and put it on the wall, on the fridge.
Yes. Thank you, Liliana.
Yeah.
We need to focus
so that it reminds you, when you look at that,
yes, I have this. And we need to change the paper from the place, because after 3 weeks, this paper that are there,
I'm no longer reading it, so you have to put it somewhere.
Like an image, like something that don't gives you the information. You need to change the place. I spent 2 years to write this book. I spent 2 years, and these 2 months I was stopped reflecting after the first review, because I received the review and I need to give for the 8 authors the revision and give the information without the motivation, dismotivate
without demotivating them.
Yes, I needed to motivate, to continue to improve the information. So 2 years I spent asking.
I think it can be more challenging sometimes to write together with other people. It's not so easy as well.
It's not so easy, but it's interesting. But for
No,
me,
it's an interesting process, of course it is.
but it's not so easy. It's
Yeah.
I always remember a phrase that says, I'm gonna say in Portuguese. You can help me, Liliana. How can I let me remember? Sozinho eu vou mais rápido, em grupo eu vou mais longe.
Okay, alone I go faster, and together I go, the distance, right?
Yes, yes. Thank you. Sorry about the explanation in Portuguese, but this is the meaning of working group.
No, it's
we
really good.
we can go
different
longer.
practice. Yeah,
We
you can get
longer.
to a place further ahead. Yeah.
Yes, and to conclude, gratitude about the my explanation. I intended to clarify something, and if we have a minute to question, we can answer. We
Yes,
are
for sure.
almost on the time.
But that's okay. That's okay. It's been rich. It's been good. But yes, any questions, please?
I'm
Come.
gonna finish
Stop
the
sharing again. Any other questions?
share. It's okay.
Yes.
Thanks.
Would
for the
like to
opportunity.
thank you because it was very good structured and very pedagogical, didactical. So I think it's very helpful. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Dadia.
Thank you. Thank you for the feedback. Also important. Yeah, you feel happy when it's didactic and it really, brings you information and helps you in our own process, right? Because we are all in a process. Well, Daria has already published the book. We are just waiting for the second.
Oh, nice. Congratulations.
Right.
Okay,
And
so
for everybody else's books, right? That's what we want to motivate, more people writing conscientiology in different languages, more books. And here we are, always, Isaac, to help you, translate, revise, all that. Yeah, that was very good. So if we don't have any other questions, please feel free. We still have like 2 minutes. If you don't, I want to thank everyone, but especially I want to thank Caio for being here with us. And it was really lovely to have you here and your whole presentation. Really
thank
great.
you, Liliana. Thank you, Liliana. Congratulations by the Bridge Writers. This
Thank
is
you
an
so
important
much.
program. And thanks to ISIC, thanks to NSCOM, thanks to everyone that participate, and to you that helped me all time to do
Always
this.
a pleasure. Always a pleasure. Please can count. Okay. Thank you very much. So Eliane is writing here. Also, it provided me some It provided me some important reflections about writing. Very good. Thank you for sharing with us as well.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so dear all, this is our last Bridge Writers for this year. December, we will not be presenting, so we will start, we are planning to start next year in February. We will give you more information until then. I hope that you have a nice evening, afternoon, morning, and the rest of the time, right? See you next year. All right. Bye-bye, everyone. Thank you so much.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.